All right, everybody, good morning. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day and a good kickoff today. So today, we're going to talk about cracking the code, solving your biggest challenges. And now, how do we know that they're your biggest challenges? And I can tell you that part of our role is to travel all over the country and the world and talk to you and meet you where you are, to have the conversations about how we can help. What are the things that we need to do? And this week, Tuesday, I was in Boston with 4 of your peers. We're sitting down, we're talking, and they're like you, they're experienced, they're very good at what they do. When they show up, they close deals. And so what we're talking about through this process is the future of cloud. We're talking about AI, we're talking about security, we're talking about how it merges together and painting the vision of the future that they can turn around and paint to their clients. As we're talking about this over and over, they said something that I have heard year after year after year of being with you in the trenches. And I want you to keep in mind that when I say being with you in the trenches, I was you. I was a trusted advisor before AVANT let me come on. So I know what it feels when a new technology comes up and you have to go on a marketing campaign to tell your clients that you do something new. So if we go back, we'll go back 5 years. I was asked to come in and give a talk about new technology, advanced solutions, and what it means for the trusted advisor. We came in, and this is the same conversation that I had in Boston, basically. Came in, talked about the impact for the client, talked about where the industry is moving, how the government regulations are impacting the go-to-market motion. And as we talked about this, we did everything right. We answered the question the way that your peer asked, the trusted advisor. Get us the right information for the question. But throughout the entire process, at the end, when we broke for questions, they asked the question that you asked today. How do you get the lead? So as we went through this, I began to struggle from 5 years ago when I was a trusted advisor. How do we help you get a lead? Because I was helping my team to do the same thing. And we had this conversation. I was struggling about it over and over and over again. I had owned a company. I knew what it was like to go on a marketing campaign and expose yourself to that risk of telling your clients that you do something. And in any time of struggle, there's a few key people that you turn to. I turned to one of my mentors. His name's Greg. Now, I knew Greg intimately well. Greg is a leader that 5 minutes with them, and you change. Somebody that can inspire you, encourage you, somebody that has already been there and done it. See, I knew Greg because I got to spend 6 months with him in Afghanistan. He was my leader, he was my boss. We were one of the last battalions to take land back from the Taliban, and we were charged with, among peace and security and prosperity, we're also charged with protecting important relics and cultural institutions that were already there. So as we're going through this, we're out in the middle of the desert, the Arghandab River Valley off one of the most prosperous areas of Afghanistan, the Registan Desert, red sand as far as the eye can see, a farming area and a village. And we're at an outpost that we had built. Now, just a couple months before, I'd graduated from Ranger School, and so I knew the most important thing was security, security, security. And I'm out with Greg, and I'm Greg's last line of defense. If everything goes to hell, I have to keep him safe and secure so that way he can make the decisions that impact the lives of the 600 people that were with us and everyone else. I'm with Greg. He doesn't say anything. At the end of a meeting, he stands up. He walks all the way to the edge of our security barrier. He walks through the security barrier. He walks outside of this fortress that we'd built. He goes out, and we're on a hilltop, and we're overlooking the Arghandab River Valley. I'm his only security, me. Now there's some little barriers behind, and now I'm starting to get uncomfortable because I just spent so much time looking at security, and I go, Greg, could we just please maybe step behind that barrier? Because there's snipers here, and we're going to step back a little bit. And he looked at me quizzically with a smile that both made me feel small and big. and he just said no. Now, he's the kind of leader that makes you come to your own conclusions because he knows that you'll grow more. And he knew what it would do to me if he didn't explain anything. So here I am struggling with it, and I go, oh, he doesn't care about the security. The security for himself right now, that element is doing things right. But him standing there on a hilltop with all of the eyes of our friends, and more importantly, our foe, was to send a message that we're here and we ain't turning around. That's a campaign that we fought together. And as we fought that, years later, I was sitting down with him at a meal in Chicago, and we're having a conversation. I'm talking about this struggle of helping find the lead, helping you find the lead to get into a call. And we talked about some of the scenarios, and this one actually happened to pop up of being back in Afghanistan. And he looked at me, and he just said no. But this time he kept going, and he said, Stefan, you've already learned that lesson. You learned it with me. There's a difference between doing things right and doing the right things. So let's talk about what are the right things that you can do to get the lead. Don't take it from me. Take it from my wonderful panelists that are coming out. Let's give a round of applause. Come on up, y'all. We got 3 amazing panelists. So these are the people that I trust. These are the people that we've talked with, known them forever. From Expedient, we have Stacy Ozenberg. From Thrive, we've got Alvaro Gonzalez. And from Securionics, Anthony DeFaria. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. We're going to talk about what the right solution is. And we're going to talk about how we drive business with you. How we help you go from 1.2 opportunities with your base, expanding into an average of 3.6 opportunities per customer. And now in order to do that, we're just going to go left to right. We're going to go left to right. Anthony, how'd you get the lead? What today at Securionics is setting calls? And before I let him talk, actually, and I'm going to do that in just a second, we're announcing right now that Securionics is in channel and is exclusive to AVANT. It's the first time we've ever said that in public. So thank you so much for joining. With that context, how do you get the lead?
It's a great question. So our leads come from a variety of places. Historically, we've been channel-focused, value-added reseller distribution. But with this announcement here today, we're doubling down on the trusted advisor. So we have a variety of ways of getting them: the traditional cold call, outreach, word of mouth, people coming to our website and requesting a demo. There's a variety of ways. I want to say it's split evenly, but this is a great opportunity with the AVANT for us to be able to take more of that share.
Thank you. Thank you. Alvaro, coming up to you next. With Thrive, I see the rest of the team over there. Hello, team. With Thrive, what are some of the things that you bring to the table to help the people in this room set calls?
Yep. I'd say that, the way that we go about this in channel generally has a lot to do with what Anthony was saying, but I'd say the highest leverage thing that we're doing right now with a number of partners to help, and it's what's actually working for us writ large, is a combination of LinkedIn advertising, driving then web events to be able to talk about not capabilities so much as the problems that are getting solved, right? Businesses are not facing simple problems. There's a lot of complexity there. And to be able to start that conversation for ourselves or with trusted advisors, the opportunity is to take the relationships that we have, that people have, but to be able to say, here are some real world insight from people who are doing this at scale across hundreds, thousands of different customers, to not have something be just promotional, but rather insightful and practical. That's the thing about it. When trusted advisors lean on the members of our team to be able to help them establish their bona fides to go from 1.2 opportunities, which are generally siloed, into solving broader problems, moving kind of from strategy or tactics to strategy. That's a real high leverage thing. People we're doing it with are having very big success in generating incremental opportunities that way.
I'm hearing incremental opportunities, which is one of my favorites, right?
Yeah.
Because it moves forward. And I'm also hearing from both of you, a lot of the basics, going back to the basics that, who in here started off as an SDR, BDR, like outbound calls, knocking on doors? Yeah, same. Believe it or not, same. So I'm hearing a lot of those basics. Stacy, how about you? What are some of those basics that Expedient is bringing to the table that really highlight and shine and help people in this room set a call?
So, I think what we do really well is help our trusted advisors and our partners just ask better questions, enable them with lists of questions to ask, stories they can use as their own, stories they can tell, and just helping them dig a little deeper and maybe ask that one better question that gets you kind of wider in an account.
What do you think that question might be for Expedient?
Oh man, there's a lot of them. If you're talking to someone about their network or something like that, ask them about their disaster recovery plan. Everybody's talking about AI. I think that's probably, you're gonna hear that buzzword about 5 bazillion times today, but meaningful AI, like what does it mean to you? Like what are you actually doing? Is it just chat GPT, or are you, really trying to solve a problem with AI? So just ask them. You don't need to know the answer. Like that's the biggest part. Like
Absolutely.
You can ask the question without knowing what the actual answer is.
And I love that. I love that piece. So when I was a trusted advisor, we didn't know the answer most of the time. We had a team that could do that. Mm-hmm. And these 3 companies are part of the teams that I personally look to when I don't have the answer. Shifting up a little bit, diving a little bit deeper here. Alvaro, for the people in the room right now, Thrive does an amazing amount of, like a wide variety of business solutions and outcomes. Mm-hmm. If you had to pick, and expand on this as much as you'd like, if you had to pick for the people in this room to walk away and take an action tomorrow, what do you think the top message is that the TAs, the trusted advisors in this room, should drive home in order to set a meeting? What's the top message?
Specifically in the case of Thrive, I would say, you mentioned this, we actually have a really broad set of capabilities that if people try to take them as a bunch of individual things, it can really become overwhelming. Whereas if you go to the principles, the reason why people would actually be speaking with us or you to begin with, I think that the message would be, again, that so many businesses, the reason why they're talking with any of us is that they have multi-part problems. And if they get into a series of point solutions, what they end up doing is trading what's complex about the problem for what's complex about a number of different solutions. So if you can engage with the problems that they're facing at the level of principles, not at points, it's not an EDR conversation, for example, it's an actual security and resiliency conversation. It's a business continuity conversation. That's what it is. I think when people want to go down real detailed rabbit holes and talk about what amounts to product conversations, it's very easy to get into the weeds and to kind of get painted into corners when I think increasingly customers that we are speaking with realize they've had a lot of experience buying the incredible sprawl, security tools. You read all these eye-popping statistics about larger companies can have as many as 47 security tools in the mix. How do you actually turn 47 Lincoln logs into something that's a coherent and value-added service to the customer, to the business? You have to go to the principles, the outputs, not the inputs, the outcomes, not the products. That's the fundamentally most important message because that's where the value is for everybody, honestly, principally for the customer, right? They wouldn't be speaking with any of us if they had the bandwidth and the expertise to A, select, and B, interoperate all these different moving parts. They don't want the parts. They want to focus on being able to do the things that make a business money. And us supporting them in that mission, all of us together, is the single most important way to go about having that conversation, opening the door, and being valuable.
So I'm hearing a lot about business resilience and continuing to go to market, which are key to my heart as well.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we're going to go from very broad. Thrive does a lot of things. We're going to switch over to Securionics as a platform, relatively narrow, and there's power and focus. So Anthony, I'm wondering from you, if the people in this room, we're going to switch it up to targeting. If the people in this room are going to target one segment. Now that's a scary concept, but again, there's power and focus. If the people in this room were going to target just one segment, what do you think that segment should be?
It's a great question. So you have multiple different verticals we succeed in, that we do well in. Even outside of those verticals, there's one common target, and it's anybody that really cares about protecting their assets, has a security operations team, is doing threat hunting. If you have the person that's managing your Active Directory, your endpoint, and a variety of other solutions, it's a smaller shop, we're not going to be a good fit for them. But somebody that's got a designated security operations center or a designated network operations center that has that 24/7 focus, we are a prime fit for that, regardless of the vertical that they're in.
Fantastic, thank you. And I love the fact that we've got very broad and very specific in the same one, and both have amazing deal sizes for you at the end of the day. Stacy, so we've talked a little bit about what's the top message from Alvaro. We talked about focus points from Anthony. Stacy, for you, I think one of the biggest litmus tests for a trusted advisor is when they commit to a marketing campaign. So you only have so many marketing campaigns that you can do in a given year. For some of you, it's one. For some of you, it's one a quarter or even more. Stacy, if you had to pick right now, based off of numbers, and I want this to be based off of numbers, based off of what you see, what do you think that marketing campaign should be on? If you were sitting down with a trusted advisor here and help them pick a marketing campaign, what do you think it would be?
So Expedient is an infrastructure as a service, cloud services company, so it's going to be surprising when I tell you it's not either one of those. It's AI. It's been the biggest door opener that we've seen. I've never seen a product launch that we've launched sell so quickly, sell to more new business accounts, more new logos, and it's because we just simplify it. And I think if you can find a way to market to your base and to your prospects about AI, it's a good wedge in the door to talk about all the other things. Companies aren't going to just be like, oh, I want to turn over my entire infrastructure to you. Who are you again? That's a very, it's a big deal. But for an AI project that solves a specific problem, they're more likely to give you a shot and to talk to you if you can bring people who know how to get started in AI. That's the hardest part. Everybody wants to do it, but it's like, what's the first step?
So AI. And Alvaro, if there was an AI conversation with a client, could you go almost any direction?
You totally could, although there's a super important place to start, and that is, I think people are very familiar with kind of the hype about AI, and it's easy to overlook something that's crucially and fundamentally important that underpins all of it, and it's data guidance, data governance. So to be able to get into these fields, the ability, which really very highly correlates to security, is to know what are the data sources, who can have access to the data sources, how are they going to be disclosed outside of internal or external users. All of the things that go behind or kind of underpin an AI conversation, which can be fundamentally an outcome. If you have an outcome without any governance, that what got in there to begin with, it's kind of a recipe for heartache. There have already been some pretty famous examples of users at some considerably large companies who actually were like, I'm going to get on this AI thing, I'm going to realize the promise of it, and end up disclosing a great deal of quite sensitive company data because A, they didn't realize the implications, and B, the people who were the guardians of all of those crucial assets also didn't have an inventory of what is the data, who should access it, how can it be given to the right people in the right way, that takes something that's a good idea and turns it into a horrible outcome if the foundation isn't laid. That's something we're doing a great deal of now around Copilot, for example, so far. All of the Microsoft Copilot functionality that people are so jazzed about rests absolutely crucially on what is the data that can be accessed, where is it, who should be able to access it, and in what ways, to avoid having, you effectively breach yourself
And talking about those fundamentals, I'm going to circle back here. Anthony, take us home. 30 seconds. Alvaro talked about the fundamentals and setting up of who has access to what, where, and why. You give visibility into that. Just 30 seconds. Tell the people in the room about this bet that you made on channel and why.
Yeah, so the bet we made on the channels for us is historically we were direct. And we played well a little in the sandbox. You're either in or you're not. And that we've made that decision, we are all in. And then we brought two groups together. We've brought the groups that have worked with the folks like AVANT and the trusted advisors, and then we also have the groups that work with the standard channel resales. So for us, when we say we went in, we went all in. And that brings us a great capability for a market that most folks have a solution in place today. They're not happy with it. And it's either a complete takeout or an augmentation. We have, portable analytics that will sit with somebody. So when you're talking around with the customers, it's not a direct displacement. It doesn't have to be. It can be an augmentation. It can be a variety of things. And with the market and the trusted advisors, it gives us a much wider depth and breadth to be able to hit the markets that we need to in a much quicker fashion. It pays great margins too.
I love that so much. Thank you. So in the end, I'd encourage all of you to come down to our booth, meet the team up here. Choose Securionics and Anthony because they've got big deals. Choose Alvaro and Thrive because they've got big deals. And choose Stacy and Expedient because they've got big deals. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause.
Great job.